So, but I just have to say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Biafrans.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I won't be long. You know, when they are talking about all of us uniting together and working as one, is as if you are pouring water on the stone. And it shouldn't be that really, because I don't understand why adults, matured people who are fighting for their freedom, and all of a sudden you don't understand what they are doing anymore. Now, this incident or the historic event that took place yesterday between Biafrans, the cabinet ministers, and our indomitable prime minister, Mazi NKERE, you should all know that there is light at the end of the tunnel. And when you look at what Riley Moore says, the honorable congressman, and see what the Fulanis are saying now, you will know that no matter what happens, Fulani people are not going to give up on their quest to conquer everybody in that region and Islamize, Fulanize, and continue to intimidate. So when you see all these things happening, because I was going through my information minister's platform this morning, I saw it where they all gathered together and they were saying that they cannot give up their Sharia or their blasphemy law or whatever law, that America cannot come and tell them what to do. So they are defying all these, foreign presence and the concern about what is going on in Nigeria. They are not giving up. I even saw where Kashim Shetima was inspecting the terrorists converted to military. And where do they send them to? Southeast. So what do? We have to really be serious in what we are doing. Fulanis, they know what they want. But the very unfortunate question here is, do we know what we want? Because my sister Tutor, she talks the way it is. Onyenye has said it. Mweze did. My sister Love, Holland, I have been hearing everybody. But sometimes it looks as if it is a water poured on a stone that doesn't really sink. So Biafrans, we really need to come together. Watch Nigeria closely. They are not remorseful. They are not changing, and they are not ready to change. So, since we want Biafra, what do we have to do? We have to support our government in exile. You have now seen that the PM is, working out something tangible for us. And there is hope. So much so that our funding, nobody should be, talking about it now. It should be, falling like a heavy rain. Tomorrow is our mega fundraising day. Sunday as well is United Kingdom town hall meeting, when we are going to, welcome our prime minister on a virtual visit. And we all know this, that whenever we have such thing, we convert it to fundraising. And this is to make sure that our government is properly funded. So, Biafrans, I will leave you here to dash into my UK executive meeting. And I thank you people for all you have been doing, especially tutors. You are wonderful. I don't know how you do it, but I pray that Chukwu Okike Abiama will continue to give you the strength and the energy. Love my sister. She's always there. So I thank you all. Snow, my COS, the original COS, Holland, Onyenyere Nweze, 30, Ben, James, 1 million, my guy, Ndewonu. Nsi and Obi, Daluno. God bless you all. Thank you, tutors, for this opportunity, and may God continue to strengthen you. Bye for now.
No, don't buy, Mama. Thank you so much. You can be, in the background and let us see that I know you have a meeting. Thank you so very much. It is not easy for anyone here, even those that are listening. It's still time consuming. We really appreciate your submission, man. God bless you. And may this position that you've taken up, let Him give you the anointing and the leadership skill that you need to lead the UK people to come out, turn out in mass and fund their freedom. It's nobody will fund this freedom for us. We are the ones to do it. So as you are going for your meeting, everything that you will say should boost them and energize them and enhance them to bring money out. We need money. Thank you so much, man. God
That
bless
is
you.
the whole idea. Thank you.
Yeah,
God
God
bless
bless
you.
you, man.
Bye bye.
When,
Yeah.
once you are finished, you come back because we still have a lot to talk about. I don't mind sacrificing today. Today
Soon
is
just that. I will do
Hey,
just that.
you
Thank you.
not
tutor.
it's after 10 here, woman.
You try, you try, you try, you try, you try.
Yeah, take your time. Okay, now let's look at demand number 10. Let's see what Nigerian government will do in this one. Is it 10? Yeah, it is 10. Okay, it says a national intelligence estimate. Remember when we were talking about this intelligence estimate before? Okay, so we will not really dwell so much. Yeah, no, we've done this. We've done this, and they say they should designate Fulani as a. Yeah, so we are in number 11. Reform and speed up US military equipment sales. Because Nigeria has been wanting to purchase this advanced American military equipment for years. All these their helicopters, because America, they have the best. All these their surveillance technology, armored vehicles, all their communication system, and the process for buying the equipment from the America and United States of America is known as a foreign military sales, and it has historically been slow. So this demand now says that the US will improve and speed up this process. Remember, it says reform and speed up US military equipment sales. So they say, okay, we will improve and speed up this process, but only in exchange for genuine Nigeria commitment to using this military to protect civilian population, including Christian. That is the only condition that they will speed up to sell this equipment to them. So this demand work on two levels, I would say. If you look at it at two level side and at the same time, it work at two level at the same time. And on one level, I see it as a reward, telling Nigeria, if you genuinely reformed and stop the killing of Christians, if you start protecting Christians, we will make it easier for you to buy the military equipment you have been asking for. Yes, you know that when they bought equipment from Turkey, there was no process. There was no Congress meeting. There was no agreement. There was no approval. Yala, you want equipment? Yes, take, pay money, take. So nobody kept a track record of how they are using this equipment. So that is why Gumi said, go to Turkey, because Turkey has no process. Turkey has already turned their country to Islamic nation. So, but in US, it has to pass through the Senate, it has to pass through Congress, it has to do this, do that before they sell weapons to them. So, US is telling them now, if you change, if you are transformed, and you stop to kill Christians, this is what we'll do. We will speed up these sales for you. And then on another level, I see it as a signal, because Nigeria has been buying Russian military for years. So the US is now saying, switch from Russia to America, buy from us and depend on us as well. And that shift in military dependence comes with political consequences, because a country that depends on American weapons is a country that has to listen to American demands. That's it. So it is not a charity. It is a strategic leverage dressed up as a assistant. And Nigeria cannot leave Russia. They've just joined a BRICS. for this same purpose. So they cannot leave Russia. Again, another tight corner for Nigeria. And then we go to the next one, which they said counter-terrorist financing. Yes. So in this one now, this demand connects to the breaking news that happened a few days ago, where a senior US Treasury official arrived Abuja, remember? And what did he really come to do? To strengthen the cooperation on what America call counter-terrorist financing. And that same time was the time we had the explosive allegation that emerged that the Nigerian terrorists have paid 20 billion to Boko Haram to secure the release of abducted school children. And if you also go to the news today, you see, I think Jigawa, that have also come out to say that 48 children have been stolen. I say, stolen from where? Gombe. Governor Yahaya have come out to say 48 children have been stolen from Gombe. Stolen from where to where? They just steal them like that, like crayfish? How? So now you see they're going to pay ransom for those children to be released. So this one happened in the real act. So when the senior US Treasury arrived, he came and heard this news that, come on, what you are coming to check is already taking place, that Nigeria have paid terrorists 20 billion naira to secure these children. That is what happened when they came out to the news. They said, no, we engaged the terrorists and they released the students. But no, this is what really happened in real time. So, and if those allegations are proven, it means that the Nigerian government was funding terrorism, which of course is not the first time they are doing it. Every form of release that involves the government. What of the one that happened in Kwara? Nigerian government paid 100 million when they kidnapped church worshippers. So they are going to find it out. Remember now, US is coming in. First of all, Nigeria must sign this agreement. So that man arriving in Abuja was not a coincidence. Yes, because America is putting financial investigators inside Nigerian capital to trace money flow and find out exactly where terrorist funding is coming from. You see, that is what is happening. So this demand calls for the production of the national intelligence estimate that we've already talked about, the NIA. Yeah, so we've already known that it is a very important document that has to be released from all the 18 intelligence agencies working to track Nigeria and everything that is happening in Nigeria. So while Washington was processing the congressional report on Christian persecution in Nigeria, something else was happening at the same time. Yeah. So, and that is that the official, senior official that came, when they said they caught the woman in the real act. Yes, the man came and caught Nigeria in the real act of paying the terrorist 20 billion naira. So, and you know that under US and international law, paying ransom to a designated terrorist organization is not just morally wrong, yeah, it is a crime, and they call that terrorist financing. And the US Treasury Office of Terrorism and what do they call this one? Financial intelligence investigate and prosecute terrorist financing wherever in the world it occurs. So the report now demands that the US Treasury run programs to strengthen Nigeria's financial integrity and enhance anti-money laundering system and disrupt all these angle that the terrorists get money from. So if the US Treasury finds evidence that this happened, which of course they will not even find one, they will find thousands of it, right from the one that El-Rufai, confessed that the terrorists are even on payroll, and even him, he started paying terrorists. So the payment of terrorists did not start today. So if they find the bank transfer money and they have financial record and they trail this money, then Nigeria is not just a country with religious persecution problem. Nigeria becomes a country that finance terrorism, which is a fact. It is true. They finance terrorism, they fund them, they place the terrorists on a payroll, they feed them, according to Gumi, they eat decent food, well-balanced food in the forest, they clothe them, they give them even satellite, everything that the terrorists want, they give to them. So, and the consequences of that finding are in a completely different category from anything we have discussed so far. Yeah, because if you look at the National Intelligence Estimate, it's not a Google search, it is not a newspaper report. It is the combined classified judgment of every intelligence agency, which there are 18 in number. Yeah. So when this report is ordered, this national intelligence estimate report is ordered on a country or even a group of persons, it means the full weight of American intelligence power is being turned into that direction. So, and then we have a lot of things that happen. So all of it now focus on understanding the Fulani militia network, their funding sources and their leadership and all that. And number one leader is Shetima. Because each time we are talking about security, we used to overlook Shetima. Shetima is there as the commander-in-chief. And then he will pass the instruction to Gumi. Gumi will now disperse it with all other branches that they have. So, and then it has connection with the SWIFT. Because the most extreme financial consequences the United States can impose is removing Nigerian bank from SWIFT. Yes, they will remove them. And you know that SWIFT is the global payment system through which almost all international financial transactions pass through. It must pass through SWIFT. So without SWIFT access, a country bank cannot send or even receive money internationally. That is the implication of it. So import becomes impossible for them. Even export will collapse. So foreign investment will also stop. And this happened already to Iran and to Russia after the Ukraine invasion. So for Nigeria, which imports most everything that they have, including toothpick, and depends on oil export paid in US dollars, SWIFT removal will be economically catastrophic on Nigeria. So the US Treasury official now sitting in Abuja is the person who would initiate the process that could lead them there. So, and the last one is build a global coalition with France, with Hungary, and with the United Kingdom. And I know some people will say, United Kingdom and France, it is a trap. Let's see how we can just touch on that. Because the final demand is that America will work to bring its allies, and it's starting with this France, Hungary, and the UK into a coordinated international pressure campaign against the terrorist Nigeria. And this is how modern geopolitics works. You do not just pressure a country bilaterally, you build a coalition so that the process comes from multiple directions at the same time. So Nigeria's ability to play one Western country off against another disappears when they are all reading from the same script. So you could see that France is mentioned because France has enormous historical and ongoing influence in West Africa. And you could see many of Nigerian neighboring countries like this Ivory Coast, where they export their meat to, Senegal, Niger, Cameroon, have a deep economic and political ties to France. So if France now joins the pressure campaign, it changes the entire regional dynamic. Hungary is also mentioned. If you look at it, Hungary has been particularly a vocal champion for the rights of persecuted Christians around the world. And we also have Biafrans in these countries. So the government, the Hungarian government, has spoken out about the Christian persecution more aggressively than any other European government. And their voice adds a European dimension to it. And the United Kingdom, which is the colonial master and one of its largest trading partners and the home to a home to the largest Nigerian diaspora population in the world. So if UK joined this coalition, it means that a Nigerian politician cannot fly to London. They cannot fly. Number one person I'm targeting is Soludo. That his son that is a woman to him, he will not be able to fly to London. In fact, his student visa will be revoked and all of them will come back. So they cannot fly. They cannot send their children to British universities anymore. They cannot even access British banking. All of them that fly to UK to take treatment. So they cannot fly without facing the same pressure they face in America. So together you could see that these three allies mean Nigeria has no diplomatic escape route at all. So wherever it turns, the pressure is there. You see, that is what is happening. Because when you look at these three people coming together, the picture is more complicated than the report makes it appear. And we need to tell ourselves the truth. France is named, but on a board, because France is currently depending its military and economic relationship with Nigeria. You see, so France has pivoted to Nigeria as a new strategic partner ever since it was kicked out from the Francophone neighbors. As of today, they have, France is an obstacle, not even a partner. So America is naming France in this demand, not because France is already, supporting the pressure, no, but because America is challenging France to choose. They choose, the choice has not yet been made. But if you look at Hungary, because this France has a skeleton in his cupboard, in their cupboard, unquote, France has been funding terrorism in Nigeria. So now for America to mention France to be their allies in fighting terrorism in Nigeria, you understand what is playing out now? But a country that is very sincere, which is Hungary, a very small country in Europe, about 10 million people make up their population, is not a military superpower. Hungary is named and is already on board. Hungary, as we speak, have signed a formal agreement with the United States on the 4th of February 2026, which was 19 days before this report was handed over to President Trump. They have signed because they are very sincere. They have signed to, jointly protect persecuted Christians, especially in sub-Saharan Africa. So Hungary itself has been active in Nigeria for 7 years, sending missions and funding schools. Even though it ends in the northern part, we don't benefit from it in our Biafra land. You see, and their state secretary has personally visited Nigeria. So Hungary is the most committed country in the coalition by far. But this UK is in the middle. As at now, UK government is still selling arms to Nigeria and has not officially condemned the genocide. But the UK Parliament has been publishing reports calling it genocide, saying what is happening in Nigeria, calling it the name it's supposed to be. At least we could see that Patrick Smith has come out to hold interview and also talk about the genocide happening in Nigeria, giving accolade to the Biafra Republic government in exile. UK NGOs and Christian organizations have also talked about it. And the UK has a massive Nigerian Christian in diaspora. And these are people, they have political power, which they can pressure the British government. But it's not possible. So the fact that France and UK have not yet joined this coalition does not make this demand a failure. No, they will join because it is a trap for them. So it makes it a challenge, a public official recorded challenge from the United States Congress to two of the world's most powerful countries. So it is the US now saying in a document submitted to the president, France, you cannot keep selling weapons to Nigeria while Christians are being killed there and call yourself a defender of human rights. And UK, you cannot keep training the Nigerian military, selling weapons to them, selling armored vehicles to them. You cannot keep training the Nigerian military and maintaining diplomatic silence while your own parliament publishes reports calling it a genocide. You see the trap now? US, they are best in intelligence, I am telling you. So they have to choose because the world is watching them. And whatever choice they make will be on record. So this is the purpose of naming these countries. US know what they are doing. Not because they're already on board, no, but because naming them makes it harder for them to stay off the board. That's the point I'm trying to make here. They have also caged these two countries, France and UK. You see, that is what is playing out here. And you know, my people, Nigeria has paid a lot of money to counter what is happening. They have paid a lot of money. You see, and so on the February 10, we now saw this Rally Mall and Chris Smith. The timeline, we all know the event that has been happening and the way they introduced the Nigeria Religious Freedom Accountability Act of 2026 in the House of Representatives. So this is now formal legislation. You know, it named the names and it specified the sanction that should be applied, and the full report was handed over to Donald Trump. The practical window for Nigeria is right now in 2026, and the Appropriation Act, I told you we'll talk about the Appropriation Act 2026, has already, my people, has already embedded Nigerian CPC status into American law. So funding conditions are already in effect. And every week that passes without action from Nigeria, America's patience grows shorter and it will grow more powerful. So this act now, this Appropriation Act, is a legal and financial concept that most people have never encountered. So I want to use an illustration to see how we can understand this Appropriation Act and then see how important it is that is being involved in Nigeria. Now, I want to start with a story so that we can understand what I want to talk about. So imagine you have a friend. Let's call that friend Onyenyere. And Onyenyere is always borrowing money from not this our Onyenyere, because Onyenyere cannot borrow. Always borrowing money from our minister law, for example, and every month he comes to you with a problem. Oh, his rent has expired, his car, his children's school fees, and every month Minister Love will be giving him money because he is his friend or is a colleague or cousin or whatever and want to help. But there is a pattern there. Onyenyere never changes his behavior, but every time he's borrowing money, he's always irresponsible with the money. He never addresses the root problem, but every time Minister Love will be giving Onyenyere money. You see? So, Minister Love has been giving Onyenyere money for 20 years and nothing has improved in his life. You see what I'm trying to say? I want to break down this Appropriation Act so that we understand. So one day now, you just sit down, Minister Love just sit down, and they say to Onyenyere, I am not stopping the money, but from now on, the money comes with condition. You get it? The money comes with condition. So every month before I give you a single a dollar, you must show proof that what you did with the last money I gave to you last month. There must be a receipt. There must be evidence. There must be a result. So if there is no proof of what you did with the last money, no money will be given to you. That is what I'm trying to explain with the Appropriation Act. So I don't know if I'm able to explain it better with that illustration. So, so it is now a contract. It is exactly what the United States Congress has done to Nigeria, and the document they wrote, that contract is called Appropriation Act. I don't know if I'm making sense. So that contract now they wrote to monitor every dollar that they've given to Nigeria and they've not spent it is called Appropriation Act. Yeah, so that is the point that I was trying to arrive. So now use that now. Let's now go further in that, because we need to understand. A lot of people will be talking, what is Tutos talking about? What is she talking about? So in every country, there is a national budget. You see, so in Nigeria, the president presents the budget to the National Assembly because we need to understand what this act is. You understand? It is essentially American national checkbook. So it is a document in which United States Congress decide every year how every single dollar of public money will be spent, including everything like the military, the health, the education, foreign aid, diplomacy, is controlled by this document, this contract here. Yeah, I hope. Should I still break it down again? I hope you're where everywhere is quiet like this. I don't understand. Though. So,
Well done,
if
we are
you're
listening.
oh,
Tutor, you are very hello. This is Holland. Tutor, you are absolutely correct. That appropriation out there is more or less like no, a serious checkmate is going to take place, and thank God they are having their eyes on ground with all their planted CI or whichever way no they have their ground on the board. If they are to spend any money at all, meaning that no, they are going to explain what they want to actually do with the money first, and they will need to give the accuracy and monitor them if actually that is what they are going to spend the money on. So it's going to be very, very difficult for them, not like the former way that no, they will lie that they will pocket the money and they will say everything is well and everywhere is good. No, not available again.
yeah, exactly. Thank you so much. That was why I used
Tutor,
to. Yes, ma'am.
uh, now, another way to do it is this. If you have a child that you give money all the time and you don't know what the child is using the money for, and you are suspecting maybe the child is using the money to drink, maybe using the money to chase women, maybe it's gambling, maybe it's drugs or whatever it is. You are not sure, but you're just suspecting. But the truth of the matter is the child can never make it known to you in practical terms what the money is used for, but it's constantly coming for money. So you can now put that tag, say, look, I'm not going to stop giving you money because I already promised to give you money, okay, to help you when you need. But you have to prove to me what you use the last set of money for. Unless you do that, you're not getting another money. So that's another way of looking at it. Now that parent now is US and that wayward child is Nigeria. I don't know if that helps to make it clearer to people.
Exactly. You see, this is why I like Briggy's Pesa Gene. Hey, very beautiful illustration as well. Yes, so that
You
way
actually got
is
it. That is
Nigeria.
it. You
Thank
got
you
it.
so much, Mama. We love you. We love you. We love you. That way one child is Nigeria and the parent is United States. Thank you so much. You see, this is what we need in this place. Not everybody listening and listening and listening. So, my people, Nigeria, the president will present the budget to the National Assembly. So the National Assembly now will debate it and then they pass it and it becomes a law. So that law now determines how every of their kobo is spent. America has the same system, but in America, it is the Congress that controls the money, not the president. So the Congress now will decide through a document called this Appropriation Act exactly how much is going to be spent. But Nigeria is catcher. You see, Nigeria is that spoiled worst child that our mama used to explain more. Thank you so much. So now, the specific version of that Appropriation Act that affect Nigeria is called Fiscal Year 2026. Oh, goodness. Okay. Fiscal year 2026. This is what is affecting Nigeria. Fiscal year 2026 National Security, Department of State and Related Programs Appropriation Act. So this fiscal year 2026 means that the financial year that runs through 2026. So the Department of State is America's foreign ministry. And that is the office that manages all of the American international relationship, diplomacy, everything, foreign assistance. So this particular act now controls all the money that the US government spend on international affairs, on foreign aid and all that. Remember, I told you they've already withheld finance to Nigeria. So, and it was signed into law by President Trump as part of the Consolidated Appropriation Act 2026. It has already been signed. You see? So, as it has been signed now, there is nothing anybody can do. When this Appropriation Act was written, the people who wrote it, these are the people that are a member of the House of Appropriation Committee. Remember, that is chaired by Tom Coley, and including this Raleigh Moore himself. I don't know the way they have cashed Nigeria. So they made sure to write Nigeria's situation directly into this law. Do you understand what is happening? Not as a suggestion or even a recommendation, but as a law. And President Trump have signed and sealed it. So that was how they integrated Nigerian scenario into this law. So they wrote specific language into the act that states money going to the government of Nigeria is withheld until Nigeria takes action to stop violence against Christians. So those words are in the law that the President of the United States, Donald Trump, has signed, which means that right now, as we are speaking, the funding conditions are already in legal effect. I told you this in the beginning, but I said we will wait till when I reach here. So that is what is playing out now. Now, America is not threatening to withhold money. America has already withheld this money by law until Nigeria proves it is changing, which me and you knows that they can never prove. And the House Appropriation Committee Chairman, Tom Coley, made a statement publicly. And it is on record. He said, I am proud to aid in that mission through the FY26, that is the form of 2026, national security and Department of State legislation, which does what? Which withholds assistance to the government of Nigeria until action is taken to stop these atrocities. I'm quoting him. So this man is already happy. This is the chairman of the Appropriation Committee, which is the most powerful budget official in the United States Congress, confirming that withholding the fund to Nigeria has already been signed into law. So they are not joking. They are not joking. It has been signed into law. It contains two concepts working together that create a powerful and difficult to reverse situation for Nigeria right now. And if you look at the concept one, you could see that Donald Trump designated Nigeria as a country of particular concern. And that designation has given the US government a range of tools and powers against that country whenever they designate. And such one is Nigeria. You understand? So now the president has the option now to use these tools, because the toolbox contains tools like all these sanctions, all these restrictions, all these trade restrictions, visa ban and all that. So the president now has the option to use these tools. But crucially, the president also has the option to waive them. Now it is now I want to start space. Let me sit down very well, so that we know that we must come and fund our freedom. It is now that the space is starting, because a lot of people have been asking.
Where have you been? Have you been standing? Now you're sitting down.
No,
Because
no,
this
mind. You
is
just a break up question for.
because I've seen a lot of people in the Twitter, hey, it has happened before. I want us to understand what is happening, because that toolbox, now we've mentioned everything that is in that toolbox. Because when we hear country of particular concern, it's not my mind. So the president now has the option to use these tools these tools, and he also have the option to waive them and want to arrive at something. He has the option to waive them. He also have the option to use them. So meaning, choose not to use them. He can decide. If they decide it in America's national interest to maintain good relations with that country despite the designation, I want to arrive at something. Because I went through the space, Twitter, and I saw what these other groups were trying to castigate, because they don't understand what is happening. They feel that, oh, because they need Biafra today, tomorrow, they should jump the process and give them Biafra. They are the same people destroying what we are supposed to be building, but they are destroying themselves, not us. So now, when Trump designated Nigeria as a particular of concern in 2020, that was the very first time. Do you people know what happened? Let me break it down small to the best of my knowledge. And we have a US citizens here. He designated Nigeria, yes, in 2020. But then he immediately issued what is called a waiver. Immediately. And this waiver is a legal instrument that says, I have designated this country, but I am choosing not to apply the consequences right now. That is the reason you could see US have business trade with Saudi Arabia and other countries that are already under the under CPC, because there has been a waiver applied. I don't know if I'm making sense. Somebody help me. So now, remember I said he has the tools in his box.
Tutors.
He can decide to use it. He can, yes, man. He can decide to waive it. Yes,
You see the way is remember the wayward child and the parent?
Benny.
You agreed not to give that wayward child money, but he can stop by and eat.
Exactly. Ex-
Because
Exactly.
sooner you see you are progressing, and that wayward child, if he doesn't learn, sooner or later he will be banned from coming to the house by changing the lock. Remember now you gave the child the house key. He can come in anytime. But sooner or later, if the brain don't reset, it will stop eating, and then you change the lock and palaba shut.
Exactly. So that was what Trump
Victor,
did in
Victor,
2020. Hold on,
Victor, can I say something?
hold on, please, so that I don't forget what I wanted to say. Hold on, I'll give you my. Hey. Yeah. So that was what Trump did in 2020. He designated Nigeria, but then he immediately issued what is called that waiver. You see? So I have designated this country, but I'm choosing not to apply the consequences right now because other national interests make it more convenient to maintain a normal relationship. So in other words, he designated Nigeria in 2020 and then immediately decided not to actually do anything about it. That was what happened in 2020. So that waiver means that despite the designation, the money was still flowing. The military cooperation continued. We've been asking, why? When they designated Nigeria, nothing really changed. This is what happened. We did not feel it that time. We did not feel it. So money was still flowing. It means there was a waiver. Money was still flowing. They were still selling weapons to them. So there were a lot of military cooperation still going on. And, nothing materially changed for Nigeria. But this time it has changed. So the designation that time had teeth, but Trump chose not to bite it at all. So that is the loophole Nigeria escaped through that first time. And then if you look at the concept, the second one, this is where the 2026 Appropriation Act become even, something that is entirely different from 2020 designation. Let's look at this one. Now, there's a difference here. That is why I said Nigeria can never, Biafra, our freedom is here, but we just have to fund. The last push. Let's go home. Because when Congress write the CPC consequences directly to this Appropriation Act into the national budget law, it removes the president's ability to issue a waiver. This time around, I don't know if you are following me. When they wrote it into this Appropriation Act of 2026, that section of waiver has been removed completely. Because the funding restrictions are now in the law itself, not just in the designation. So Nigeria cannot escape. It's not going to be business as usual. So they are in the document that controls the money, and the only way to remove them is to pass a new law, which is not possible. And it will require a majority vote in the House, a majority vote in the Senate, and the president's signature. So you cannot just write a memo and sign an executive order to undo this time around. It can never happen. You understand what is going on now? So when you see them going to pay millions of dollars to lobbying firm to counter the genocide going on, they were paying it to prevent this from happening to them. So the fiscal year 2026 National Security Appropriation Act signed by President Trump contains language that withholds assistance to the government of Nigeria until action is taken to stop the violence against Christians, which we know they can never. So that language is not an executive order that can be reversed by a different executive order. No, it has been passed into law. That is a summary of what I'm trying to say. It has been passed into law. So, and right now, the people who wrote the law are the same people who are the most ones determined to enforce it. So Nigeria has no easy escape route this time around. It is not business as usual. Mbano. So that phrase funding condition are already in effect. It is happening. I am telling you, it is happening. Because now, Nigeria receives money. They receive American assistance across many different channels. The largest single category, they use HIV funding, they use malaria treatment, they use maternal and child health care. Look at what is happening. No single hospital in Nigeria. And on top of that, Nigeria receives security sector assistance. So when Soludo creates artificial insecurity in Biafra land, he is benefiting from security sector assistance that is given by the United States of America. Do you understand what is going on, my people? So these people will create this insecurity just to get this fund. So the total of non-emergency bilateral US aid to Nigeria runs into hundreds of millions of dollars every year. So before any of this money actually reaches Nigerian ministry, hospital, or other rooms, it must go through a process of authorization, allocation, and disbursement that is controlled by the State Department and USAID. So both of which now operate under the authority of the Appropriation Act. It is no more business as usual. A lot has changed. That is the point I'm trying to make. A lot has changed. So now, think of it this way again, that, let me still see if I can break it down further. Now, let's see what is happening here. The money that America sent to Nigeria does not arrive as a single lump sum dropped from helicopter, like where they drop weapons to their terrorists. It flows through a pipeline. Let me use the word pipeline. So it starts at the US Treasury, it goes to the State Department, they process it, they categorize it, they allocate it to specific programs like those aids and all that, and then they release it to the relevant Nigerian partners. So whether that is a government ministry or not, they get this money. So at every stage in that pipeline, there are conditions and oversight mechanism that is happening there. So this Appropriation Act is the law that governs every single stage of that pipeline. Every single step of it. And when the Appropriation Act says that money to the government of Nigeria is withheld until conditions are met, it means that at this stage, where the money would normally be released to Nigerian government partners, it stops. It does not go further until conditions are satisfied. I think we've been able to do justice to that. So not for they just stop it. So, but for Nigerian government, the tap has turned off. The tap has turned off completely. The tap has turned off until Nigeria proves it is active. Please, if you are just joining the space, share the space. And I'm still waiting for our space donation. So now you could see that the Appropriation Act and the accompanying congressional report does not just say, oh, do better. They specify exactly what Nigeria must prove before it can access that withheld funds. If they don't do it, they cannot get the money. That's what it means. And if they don't, Because people can be asking now, what happens if Nigeria does nothing? Hey, which is what has been trending in social media. I looked at them and laughed. What happens? The gear has changed. What if people are asking, hey, what if Nigeria decide to call America bluff and then wait, like they begin to blah 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 in social media now? Ha! There are a lot of consequences waiting at the bottom for Nigeria. It is not business as usual. Now, we've seen step one that has already taken place. It has already happened that the funding has been withheld. The Appropriation Act has been signed. The conditions are in effect. Assistance to the government of Nigeria is being withheld right now. That one has happened. Gong, gong, gong. The next thing that will happen will be mandatory annual reports to Congress. Yes, because the Nigerian Religious Freedom and Accountability Act requires the U.S. Secretary of State to submit a comprehensive report to Congress within 90 days of the act passing. Within 90 days. Me, I started counting since on the 24. Within 90 days of the act passing, and then every year, and after that, for as long as Nigeria remains as a CPC, there must be reports about what Nigeria has done and what they have failed to do. And we know that they can never do anything. Individual sanctions have already taken place. Yes, it will start. Because if the Secretary of State annual report finds that Nigeria has not made sufficient progress, the next tool is individual sanctions, which has taken place under the Global Magnitsky Act. It's already taking place. There will also be entities of particular concern designation. The Meatiala, them, they will designate them. It's already taking place. We have seen it. We have also seen that they've given them days to make sure to go in and check if the terrorists, the Miatiala should be designated as foreign terrorist organizations. So if the National Intelligence Estimate recommends it, all the 18 of them coming together, if they recommend it, then immediately they will designate these people. But it's already on the pipeline. It is happening soon. SWIFT and banking system exclusion will take place. Everybody is using SWIFT. You cannot transfer money to the Western country. You cannot also receive. So the consequences are many. Military actions will also take place because President Trump has already instructed the Pentagon to prepare for possible military action in Nigeria. Yes, they started in 25th December. Until now, Sultan of Sokoto cannot say a word. So the Appropriation Act conditions are step one. They are already in effect now as we speak. But step one is not the last step. It is the first step on the ladder. We have a lot of steps when you look at ladder. So one has gone. And you can see that each of them is getting more painful. And Nigeria is already on the first rung of it. So the question is not whether the pressure is real. It is. It is real. And United States of America, they are ready to implement the second step immediately. So Nigeria cannot escape what is happening and what is going to play out. You know, some people can say America designated Nigeria in 2020 and nothing changed. Why should we believe in 2026 that something will change? And I tell you, that is a very intelligent and fair question, which is what I've seen in social media. Because if you look at it, there are four specific concrete structural differences between 2020 and 2026. Now, remember that Trump designated Nigeria CPC in 2020, and then nothing happened, and the money kept flowing. The killings continued. Baba Joe came in and removed it, and Nigeria was cut off for 4 good years. So why should anyone believe this time is different? I will tell you 4 specific concrete reasons. Yes, 4 structural facts that explain why 2026 is different from 2020. And the first one, just a reminder, maybe you were not listening. The waiver loophole is closed. Yes, in 2020, Trump designated Nigeria as a CPC, but immediately issued a waiver. So, meaning he chose not to apply the consequences. And that waiver was possible because the consequences existed only at the president's discretion. But in 2026, the consequences are written directly into the Appropriation Act. So you cannot waive a law with a memo. You need to pass a new law. And the people who wrote this law are the most committed members of the Congress on this issue. And they are not going to write the law and remove it. It is not possible. Another difference is congressional infrastructure that now exists. In 2020, the Nigerian CPC designation was an executive order by one president. I'm telling those that say nothing will happen. It was an executive action by one president. It could be reversed by the next president, and it was. When Babajo came in 2021, he reversed it. But my people, those one Nigerians, those corrupt politicians, in 2022, there is a full congressional infrastructure supporting this pressure. So this Nigerian Religious Freedom and Accountability Act, bipartisan support on both the Appropriation Committee and the Foreign Affairs Committee. So a formal joint committee report delivered to the president. It's not about Republican alone. So multiple House resolution, multiple pieces of legislation moving through the Congress. So this is not one man's action as it was in 2020. It is an institutional position of the US Congress. So it is much harder to reverse than executive order. Are you hearing? Those politicians, tell them to come and listen. They cannot escape this one. Nigeria cannot escape it.
Let's reflect.
Another difference, I told you I have 4 differences, is physical evidence have been gathered. In 2020, the CPC designation was based primarily on reports, on data, and third-party testimony. But now, it is not like that. Members of Congress physically traveled to Nigeria. They visited the camp in Benue. They met with the survivors face to face and gathered enough evidence on ground and brought that evidence back to Washington. So when you have personally walked through IDP camp, are you coming to write lies and look into the eyes of those women whose husbands were killed? Your political commitment to this issue is not academic. Mbano. It is personal, and Raleigh Moore is not going to let this go because he has seen with his eyes and he went with his team. So if he said he did not see, another team member will say, no, I saw it. And the last difference is the legal reporting requirement locks in this accountability, because the Nigerian Religious Freedom and Accountability Act requires the Secretary of State to report to Congress every PC country, which they will forever remain. So that means every year, regardless of who is the president, because it has been signed into law. So regardless who is the president, Congress needs to receive a formal assessment of whether Nigeria is changing or not. And that report provides the political ammunition for the Congress